Information questions, sometimes called WH questions, in the present tense except for the verb be. Information questions are sometimes called WH questions because they usually have a question word that begins with the letters WH. Who, about people. What, about things. Where, location. Why, reasons. When, about time. And which. However, there is one important question word that does not begin with the letters WH. How. How is often used in combination with other words to express various ideas. How much, when you're asking for the price, for example. How many, quantity. How often, frequency. How old, when asking age. How far, how difficult, etc. So how is the one question word that does not begin with WH. When we have any verb, not the verb be, not am, is, or are, then in the present tense, to form an information question, we have to do something different. English requires either am, is, are, or some auxiliary verb to be placed before the subject in most questions. Since the present tense verbs do not have an auxiliary automatically, when we go to make a question, we have to use an auxiliary. We have to get an auxiliary. And so in English, when there is no other auxiliary, we use do or does in the present tense. The order of the words is then a WH word, the auxiliary do or does, the subject of the sentence, then the verb and the rest of the sentence. So we get, what does Nancy like? Does, because Nancy is third person singular she, so what does Nancy like? Where do you live? Do you in the question. When do the girls have English class? Do the girls. And what does a need do in the morning? Does a need do? All right. So the order of words in information questions is the WH word, do or does, the subject, the verb, and the rest of the sentence. Notice that the verb that comes after the subject is in what we call the base form. It does not get the S. Another example of the question word order and the statement or answer word order. In the question we get, what does Nancy like? Because Nancy is third person, we get does. In the statement or answer, we get Nancy likes spaghetti and meatballs. In the question, we need an auxiliary, so we get does. In the statement or answer, we don't need an auxiliary, so we don't use does. To indicate that it is third person, we need the S. In the question, the S or ES is attached to the auxiliary do. In the statement, since there is no do, we have to attach the S suffix to the verb like. Notice in the question, what does Nancy like? Like does not have an S. But in the statement, Nancy likes spaghetti and meatballs. Likes has the S. we can only use that S suffix one time. So in the question, it goes on does, but in the statement or answer, it goes on the verb. Another example of an information question and a statement or answer. Where do you live? We get the WH word where, then we get the auxiliary do, the subject you, the verb live, and there's nothing else in the sentence. In the statement or answer, we get I, the verb live, and then the information in caguas. In the statement, there is no do or does, right? So the order in the statement is subject I, verb live, and then the information in caguas. In the question, we get where, then we need do, then we get you, then we get the verb live. So again, the order of words in the question is different than the order of the words in the statement or answer to the question. In questions that ask about something or someone and the answer to that would be in the subject position, the order of the words in the question is the same as the order of the words in the statement or answer. For example, who likes English class? Who is in the position of the subject, and the answer to who will go in that position. So, in the sentence, Tatiana likes English class, or the answer to the question, we get subject Tatiana, verb likes, English class, rest of sentence. It does not change because the information that answers who goes in the position where the word who is in the question. So with questions of who and what, if the answer to the question goes in the position where the WH word is, then in the question we do not get do or does.